next question. Is Linux part of your job? No, don't have a job yet. What would you describe? How would you describe your level of
We wish you luck with that when you get out of school, by the way.
Thank you. Moderate at best. I don't know much about the terminal. I'm very eagerly waiting the next tutorial that Jordan's going to make.
I noticed those just stopped, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's just, I'm not that good. I wouldn't say I have a very high experience in Linux. I'm just pretty good at using computers in general. I know a lot of how programmers think, so I know where they place things, and it's not always where you would think that they place things if you didn't know how programmers think. But I kind of can often fix and change stuff because I know how they would think to place it. But I don't know that much about Linux. I'm definitely starting to know more and more about it, and I like that. And the most complex thing I've done in Linux, probably just program in Python. I really started using Python in Linux, and I didn't like it at first. I used Java before, and the syntax was too different for me. But now that I use it, I really like it. You could code very fast in Python. Really nice to code in. Easy to read. It's great. I don't contribute patches, and I have never, and I could not compile a custom kernel. I can't even compile a program.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are really the developers.
Well, I completely missed that question, apparently. There's a relatively new project out called Kazam screencasting software.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a guy in my IRC channel the other day, Alan Popey, who we were talking about the software. He put in a bug report for me on Kazam and put me in touch with the developer, and I have been working with him on fixing some little issues with it. I haven't actually been writing the code, but telling him what's wrong with it and what specifically needs to be fixed. And I don't know, that may be something that I explore a little more thoroughly.
Yeah, that reminds me, Jordan, you say you know a lot of developers on various open source projects and other things.
Somehow I stumble into a lot of it.
Somehow you keep stumbling. If I ever get funding for if I ever get enough money set aside to actually greenlight what I actually want to do, I need to have you ask these people if any of them want to work on a project. I don't want to waste their time right now because I don't have any money in the budget for it right now, and you do have to have at least some money in the bank to buy the various stuff you need to at least get stuff done. But yeah, because I wouldn't have a clue where to go looking for developers who are going to develop for Linux, and I know I'm not going to find that with people coming fresh out of schools. They'd be willing to work for the money I have for them, but they would not have the skill sets I need them to have. They just... So. Anyways, no, I missed that question too. It's like I wish I was a software developer. Really, the only languages I know are web languages. It's like I know enough about the basics of how stuff work that, yeah, like James was saying, I can figure out what's going on, and I can follow the logic, and I understand if the reason I'm getting why something isn't doing what it's doing is complete smoke. But if somebody else hasn't already written most of the code for me, I'm kind of lost. So, I don't know. Is there anything else we haven't done yet? Okay. I don't want to piss this guy off, but he had a comment, and since we have a little bit of time left for an even round number of parts, do we want to comment on this? They were saying, is for the most part, Linux distros ignore fonts, and I'm not sure I agree with that.
If you compare a lot of the default fonts, at least, or the default included fonts in most distros to some other operating systems, yeah, I mean they can be considered lacking, but I mean, honestly, they work for a lot of people. I honestly have not had much problem out of them. That said, on Arch, I think I'm using MS fonts. I can't remember. It's whatever the Arch guy tells you to install.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like you said, by default, 90% of users need exactly 3 fonts. They need sans serif, Arial, and Times New Roman. It's like they need those 3 fonts. That's what they need. That's what they're useful. That's what 90% of them are going to use. And they are adding some more. But one thing I noticed in recent years is that a lot of Linux distros started supporting the Windows font format, so that when you go to like Site X for free font Y, you can download and install that to your Linux distro, and your Linux distro will know what to do with the font file. Or is that just KDE distros like PC?
I'm not sure. I know I'm using GNOME-based, and TTF has worked just fine on those for a long time.
Yeah, so it's
all just a matter of
and if we're honest, a lot of these fonts, especially the specialty weird ones, it's like they're free for download across the internet like crazy.
Yeah, when I first started making videos, somebody pointed me to fonts4free.net, fonts the number 4free.net, and there are a metric boatload of it says 10,000 fonts out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you can go nuts with fonts if you really want to. It's like,
Ubuntu did actually go out and pay a third party to create them a new font for their website, for their new distro. The problem that I have with that, and it's not a big deal, the company they paid to do it did it all in Windows or Mac, I can't remember which.
Yeah, see, that's a little bit of
it's kind of a, it's a face palm for there.
It's not just that. The other thing is when you go create whole new custom fonts, you're creating a whole new custom font. And I have mixed feelings about doing that ever, because then people have to get that font to really view your stuff in that font, which is, yeah. So, I don't know.
I guess the intent is if they include it with the operating system and have it on the having it on the website, I think they actually just make images and
well, yeah, they can make images for the images, and it'll be undersigned. But like I'll give you an example of something I come across all the time as a web developer. Some little mom and pop company downloaded this great font that they love that isn't standard on anyone's computer on any platform, and they made that the default font on their OS, and because they have it installed on their computer, they see it. What they don't realize is on everybody else's computer, it's rolling back to the default font because they don't have that font installed, and their site looks entirely different. In some cases, ugly. So it's honest.
Especially if they don't include a fallback font.
Exactly. So it's, well, most modern browsers, even if you don't include a fallback font, will go to the browser's default font.
Which may not look right with that layout.
Yeah, it's a problem. They're like, it's like, are you really attached to this font? Oh yeah, we love it. I'm like, well, because this is what your site looks like to everybody else. And they're like, what? It's like that little problem. It's honestly, if you're sticking something online, stick to a standard font. Stick to not, unless you're going to take the time to go turn every single word into an image, in which case the search engines can't find it anyways, unless you put all that alternate text for every single image in your link.
And to be, correct, you're supposed to, but nobody does.
Well, some do, some don't. There are times that alternate tag will actually get you in trouble because you want to be highlighting certain stuff and other things. But anyways, well, that's that. Do we have anything else to go into in the last 2 minutes, or does that sound like a good place to wrap this? Do we want to go into 6 parts? Are we okay with that? There was one other thing I didn't put in this note that somebody brought up this week, and y'all are GNOME people, so if y'all want to go into it, we can. They brought up KDE for Windows, and I don't know if there is a GNOME counterpart to that.
There's a GTK interface, but it's not like the actual interface. It's just a look and feel for certain apps.
Makes it compatible that you run your GNOME apps, I think.
It's required for like GIMP and Pigeon and a couple other things.
Right. Okay, so that is there. But it's not like.
This
is one of the things KDE has actually been yelled at for doing this, because KDE is it's why I love Linux and I love to push open source and I love that. I push platform neutrality more. And OpenOffice and KDE are one of the few apps that are primarily strong in Linux that also support the other platforms well. And I'm all for that, even though I'd prefer people actually go try a full-blown Linux. If they want to run Windows and they want to run KDE, that's their choice. The only thing I don't like about it is that they wind up. Some people won't understand the difference because a lot of people judge by what they're looking at, and they think they've turned their Windows box into a Linux box, and nothing could be further from the truth. The same thing with their Mac. So, okay. I guess we'll end off there unless y'all have anything else to say.
No.
Okay. We went all over the place and got off on 4 tangents this week, but hey, bound to happen. Peace out for now, all.